Started. So really quick review. We had been doing deep half guard, and then we reversed them, and we mounted, and then we did a head and arm choke. And we're going to do a variation of it, but the head and arm choke's actually going to end up on the other side. This is what I mean by it. So there were a couple of things on the deep half guard that I wanted you to pay attention to, how we started off, because usually people just start off down there, and it's kind of hard to get there. So what we're trying to do is hand fight, and we're trying to control one kneecap with both our insteps. They're going to have two things that they're going to do. They're either going to lift this leg or they're going to lift this leg. If they lift this leg, it's not a big deal because you bring this leg to you, and now you start hunting this leg. So what ends up happening is we're in this fight, and I'm trying to grab him, and really what I'm trying to do is pay attention to this hand because I don't want this hand to grab onto my face and drive me this way. So I'm really conscious of what's happening with this hand. Second thing is I don't really care where this hand goes other than if I could drop this foot behind his ankle. So what you're seeing is this. I'm okay with this leg picking up. I'm okay with this leg picking up. But really what I want to do is just move him forward. So I can pull him with anything I have, any grip I have. So when I pull forward, he lands like this. I drop my ankle in. Now my next thing is I really would like to get this hand to this hip, but I got to be careful about this kneecap. I can't let that kneecap bury until I get around, because what I don't want him to do is if he's very powerful, he'll drive forward and step over my kneecap, and now you're sitting here like this, off of me. And the way, if they're not much bigger than you and or the skill level's not there, you can overcome that. But if the skill level is really high and he's 30, 40, 50 pounds more than you, you're gonna have a really hard time getting him off. So we want to be conscious that we're practicing, that we're playing the game against a really high level player that outweighs us, is bigger, stronger, all those attributes. So when we're grabbing onto this hand, we're trying to pull him forward so we can drop this ankle in. The moment I drop my ankle in, now I don't really care about this kneecap because I've grabbed onto this hip. So my first reaction is to come underneath him. At this point, he's probably going to leverage this leg really far back because he figures like, man, if he comes too close, I'm going to grab onto this ankle. It's going to be easy for me to reverse him. So there's a couple of things that I want to pay attention to now. I would like to drag this ACL with this kneecap as far back as possible so I start tilting his hips. I would like to pull with this arm at the hip line, not up here at the shoulder, because I'm trying to reverse him. My last grip, just be careful because this hand is watching that hand because I don't want him to pair up his hands because then I have a whole issue if he does. So my hand is very conscious of what this hand is doing. Lastly, is this hand is on a wizard, it's not on top, because then you wouldn't be able to get him over because you'd have a base on the other side. So when we come with this hand, it's a Y wedge that we're grabbing him. I'm not trying to scoop that leg. What I'm trying to just do is grab onto his kneecap with a Y wedge. Lastly, I pull myself in with this leg. He's very far away. I will not get him over if he's that much bigger than me. So I need to bring myself to him. So what I'll do is I slide my hips under him. So as he's coming over, this is the move that we did the other day. As he's coming over, we said there were two things that we're going to be conscious of. The contact in front of this deltoid and that I'm blocking this kneecap. So my contact in front of the deltoid is critical because otherwise he's going to continue his rotation. So as I drop in front of the deltoid, I make sure that I pivot, I stop it before it rotates. I block the kneecaps and now I step over. We said that we're going to have an issue with this hand because it's going to be sitting so low. So my first reaction is to run up as high as possible. So when I land here, I drop my head to this position because I don't know if we're going left or right, but I want my hand back. So I'm comfortable in this position because he's not going anywhere. So I rip my hand back, and this is where we landed the other day, where we started going head and arm choking and getting to this point. So let's go the other way, right? So right now, when I did that head and arm choke, and I was scooping from the left side, and then I ended up with this arm. I ended up with Ethan's right arm. We're going to end up with his left arm now. So I ended up with your right. I'm going to end up with his left arm. I'll show you what I mean. Sometimes what's going to happen is when you bring him over, he's gonna beat you, but he's gonna be longer than you, just mechanic wise. Like if he's 6'3" and you're 5'7", and you know you got him over, and then sometimes your head position is gonna be late at this deltoid, and then he's gonna fight the turtle. So everything was exactly the same. We come here like this. I'll go in slow motion and speak it out. As we're landing like this, Ethan is already turning on me, and I'm going, damn, he's up. So let's move back a second. So as he's landing, let's do it one more time. Right, so as he's landing, he's gonna continue his rotation. So as he's landing, I'm going, damn, he's coming up. So I slide to his ankle. When I pull him out, okay, come back 1 second this way. Right, yeah, just turn back. As you pull him out, he's coming up the turtle, right? And I'm like this. As you pull him out, the most critical thing I want you, I always talk about like having vision and intention after the turn. When you pull him out, I need you to take the biggest step you can on that side. What you'll see is my foot is gonna end up around here, and my because when I'm like this at this point, my only concern, right, when I rip him out, I'm gonna always clear this, but I know it sounds weird. I told you how critical it was to stay behind that deltoid when he made the turn. I'm only gonna care about this deltoid. So I'll explain it right now. As he's coming up, I'm like this. As I'm ripping out, I wanna stay behind this deltoid because I know the outcome. A second ago, I told you my foot's gonna land here. My head position is gonna be here because I only want him coming this way. I don't want him coming to his back yet. So because I haven't paired my hands up yet. Later when I pair my hands up, then I don't care if you go to your back. But right now I don't. So when I'm sitting here like this, what you'll see is I'll rip him out, but I run up to block that deltoid before it turns on me. Now I'm okay with lacing my hand through. Now once I have my hand through, then he has an issue because I can take his back, but I don't want to yet because I'm in a good spot holding him. So when we land here, I drop my clavicle inside again. So now I'm good to go left or right. I still have this position, but I've looped my hand and I've controlled the deltoid. So now my clavicle is sitting under his armpit. Now I can drive him back this way. So before we ended up with that head and arm choke, now we're ending up with this head and arm choke. So when I drop my clavicle, I can drive forward and land him again on the other side. I windshield, I hook, I recover my leg, I drive up into his artery. So pay attention into, you know the outcome, you're ripping him out. So the two most critical things is that you step over and you capture that rear deltoid. Once you capture the rear deltoid, your main objective is to loop your hand through his collar because I don't care if he turns away. If he turns away, he gives me his back, he gives me a gift wrap, he gives me like full hooks, like you go the other way, but you can't turn until I loop my hand through. So everything remains the same, right? We're here like this, we're scooping, we're coming over, Ethan's already coming up, and I'm going, oh shit, he's already up. So as I'm ripping, as I'm ripping, I'm stepping as high up as possible to get my body behind that deltoid. I loop my hand through. Once my hands are through, I drop my clavicle to the side so I can push and drive him to the mat again. He's not going anywhere. He's got an issue. I'm all inside of here. What's the worst case scenario? He brings his knee lines in? I know, but he just gave me his back on the back side. Like he just gave me this arm. Like he's in a bad predicament, but I want to capitalize on the predicament. I just want to hold this man. So when I've laced my hands and I drop the clavicle, I drive him back to the mat. Pair my hands together, and now this mount is choked. Let's start it. 1, 2, 3. They're going to run away from you. So Z comes up like this, right? Amadeo's coming up. He's grabbing. Look how Z turned. Like if it was almost like a double leg refacing him. Because go back 1 second and like don't do it right this time. Like you're squared up, right? You're like trying to put, and he's going to be running like this. Yeah, and getting away from you. And if you don't turn that corner to reface him and pull the ankle to his inside between his glutes, like do it one more time, watch how Zeke turns into him again. Because otherwise he's just going to keep running. He's going to be trying to push you off his hips. Like he's in here, he's bringing him over. He's captured that ankle. And like look how he spun in front of him with the shoulder. And I see some people trying to pull them out or trying to follow him. Do it again, but follow him the other way. So, right, just don't go too far and pause for me. Right, do it again. So when you come through, you're bringing him over, right? And now he's coming up, and now you're like this, and you're trying to pick him up, and you're trying just to push him, and he's going to keep running like this and running like this and exactly like that. And when you bring him up and you come over, that shoulder's already going like this, turning into him. It's almost like you were shooting a single or a double. So just pay attention to it. Otherwise, you just won't get somebody down. And especially somebody like Amadeo, Zeke, like, they're just too good. You got to this position, you got his ankle, and now they're just toying with you. They're just pushing you off their hips. They're not collecting anything. Just pay attention to that. We're going to now do both. So the other day, the first one I showed, you end up mounting head and arm choke. Second one, he goes to turtle, you pull him out. Just make sure you reface him on the turtle. Okay, guys, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. So we'll practice it on Friday because the angles change within like 4 minutes. I mean, like 4 inches instantly. Watch Amadeo right now. It takes a little bit of practice because you got to start reading the angles. So he brings him over, and he's like this, right? And now he grabs. See right there. The bigger the man, the harder it is to knock him down. So when he refaces him so much, stay right there, stay right there. When he refaces him so much to bring him down, that big turn is going to be like massive this way. So as he knocks him over, look where he ends up. On a beautiful highlight real armbar, right? So do it again, do it faster. And you'll see how, and when it's done right, man, you see how, like, I'm not a fan of the ballet, but when it's done right, you're like, damn, man, that was beautiful. He's like this, he's bringing him over as he's coming up, he's ripping out, he's already on an armbar. The guy's like, what the hell happened? So you start to see like how the angles start shifting, and that's the beauty of the game. There's no definitive variable. It's like, man, he's got to read that. And then he asked me before, like, when do I go this way? When do I go? I know it's a gray area, and the goods and the greats, the exceptionals, the outliers, like, they can read it and they know. And that's why it makes the difference between them. Okay, so we got a minute before we roll. You want to grab water, caffeine, anything you want. Let's do it.